Hello, Lord Uncle Heaton here, coming with a warning about the audio content that you're about to ingest. If you're a regular listener of the Political Orphanage, I hope and trust that you've come to rely on my program as a means by which to better understand the world and, in fact, make the world a little smarter and a little kinder. If the Political Orphanage is a well-balanced, high-fiber diet, the crossover episode that you're about to hear with Losers, Pretenders, and Scoundrels is audio fentanyl. I make no claims that you will learn anything from today's program other than biographical information about America's most colorful quack, a fellow named John Romulus Brinkley. John Romulus Brinkley became rich and famous by claiming to cure impotency by sewing goat testicles into men. Now, if that makes you squeamish, there's a lot more of that on today's program. So if it would bother you, if there was a little bit of choice language and some body commentary about some bodily surgery, skip over it. You won't hurt my feelings. We've got a really good program lined up on the Political Orphanage next week. But if you're in the mood for some mirthful historical tirades about a very colorful character who, among other things, became an admiral in the Kansas Navy and built the most powerful radio transmitter in the world in order to rant about the American Medical Association, that man is John Romulus Brinkley, and I think you will enjoy learning about him on this Losers, Pretenders, and Scoundrels kickoff for Season 2. If at the end of today's program you laughed, you enjoyed it, please go check out Losers, Pretenders, and Scoundrels. It is a full podcast in and of itself. There are many episodes there, and there will be many episodes to come as we are resuming the program. Without further ado, enjoy Losers, Pretenders, and Scoundrels.
Losers, pretenders, and scoundrels, scallywags, liars, and thieves. If ever there's doubt, then we'll sort them out. History, tricks, and deceives.
Welcome to Losers, Pretenders, and Scoundrels, the show that examines the disappointments, dissenters, and disgraces of history past. My name is Andrew Young, and I am joined, as always, by my dear friend,
The criminally underrated Andrew Heaton.
the self-described criminally underrated Andrew Heaton.
I'll have you know, I was recently described as such by another podcast host, and I'm now using it as all of my introductions.
That's interesting because I feel like a lot of times your descriptions are definitely ones of your own design. You give a certain extra credit to yourself as you do. Like when you enter a room, you will announce, "Aha, the most sexually virile is now here."
Yes, I will do that kind of thing. That is true. I think I exhibit what I call medium dick energy. Like when I walk into a room, people are like, adequate. Like I think that's the kind of thing I do. But with a touch of vaudeville.
Confident but non-threatening.
Oh man, that very much describes. I think all of my exes would describe me as confident but non-threatening. Yeah.
Well, so on that note, Heaton, who are we examining today?
I cannot tell you how excited I am to talk about our character today, John Romulus Brinkley. What an amazing quack. I think he might be the quackiest quack who ever killed a man. I think he might be like, it's just so unabashedly constant from the frying pan into the fire and then try to fix the wounds from the fire by giving you bullshit pills. He's amazing. I'm very excited about this one.
So you've already set the stage with he killed a man.
I mean,
so I know where we're going, right?
Probably killed upwards of 40 is my guess.
Oh my God.
That. Yeah, in the course of researching John R. Brinkley, he had his medical license revoked at one point. And one of the things that was brought to the attention of the medical licensing board was that he had, as a doctor, signed over 40 certificates of death, as you get during an autopsy or whatever, on patients that he had that were fine when they met him. And so they were going, but he's not a serial killer. He's just a quack. So let me do a kickoff question for you, Young.
Mm-hmm.
What have you ever
have you ever given in to a health craze or a health fad or medical quackery that in retrospect was a foolish investment?
I gave into the health craze of the only eat meat diet. It wasn't exactly keto, but it was like you can eat as much meat.
Is that the carnivore diet or the Paleolithic diet?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's kind of keto, but maybe carnivore diet. But I when I was in college, I was like, man, I don't want to. I put on a freshman 30, and I was like, I don't want to keep this freshman 30. I think I want to get rid of it. So I would go to the cafeteria and only eat hamburger and American cheese.
Nice.
For essentially 2 years. And I'll tell you what, that freshman 30 turned into a freshman 60 real quick.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I can see that. Like, I mean, if you were only eating protein, were you eating carbs at all?
No, I don't think so, but I was eating a lot of cheese. And I also spent most of my days in a beanbag chair. So
there you go. That's it. If you're eating lots of protein, but you're also lifting weights, that would have been converted into muscle.
Right.
As I am told.
I feel like almost every diet leaves out the fact that you can't be basically comatose for all of your day, which I think is a real fraud.
Yeah, it is a shame. That is a shame.
How about you?
I am unhappy to report that I squandered, I think it was like $1,000 or something nuts like that on transcendental meditation, which, by the way, meditation, great stuff. Nothing like big fan. Transcendental meditation, where you pay someone a stupid amount of money to teach you something you could probably just learn on YouTube. That was a dumb thing that I did. But I had multiple friends swear by it, told me it was going to be the greatest investment of my life. And in retrospect, I'm like, yeah, I could have just gone on YouTube.
Now, did these friends basically say to you, the way it works is you transcendentally meditate, then you get 20 other of your friends to transcendentally meditate?
Fortunately, no. I have not been a part of a pyramid scheme. I did have somebody befriend me one time and try to get me to sell Amway stuff.
Yep.
Met this guy on a subway, and he was like, "Hey, I like your boots," and I was like, "Thanks, friend. You know, people just aren't. Normally, they don't compliment each other on these subway trains." And he was from the South, and we started bonding. Everything. He was like, "You should have dinner with me and my wife." And I went, "Oh, thanks." And we went and had dinner a couple times, and then he's like, "Hey, man, I've got a career proposition I want to run by you. I've got an interesting opportunity. I think you would be really..." And I was like, Clearly, this is going to be something comedy related, as that is my career, which I have told him multiple times, right? Like, he's probably got some kind of gig. No, we went to Bryant Park, and he gave me a 42-minute explanation of like build up to Amway, of just like telling me this long story about a guy with a stagecoach and all this, and then finally got to Amway, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe, okay. Took the samples, got out of there.
Ugh. I think the closest...
And if I do that 1,000 more times, it'll make up for that one transcendental meditation meditation course.
I think the closest I got to that is I think I went for an interview for Cutco Knives, which is like a commission-based knife company. Apparently good knives,
an entire industry built on fleecing your mom's friends to buy knives. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so... With our own gullibility in mind, Heaton, tell me a little bit about John Brinkley.
So let me key off of that statement you just made with our own gullibility in mind. I do not think you or I would be this gullible in any time period. So this is the main thing. John Romulus Brinkley is the surgeon who attempted to cure impotence by sewing goat testicles into men's scrotums. That's his claim to fame. His claim to fame is, I'm gonna cure sexual weakness, his phrase, by putting the virility of a goat's testes into your testes. Now, mind you, Young, he's not connecting this via veins or anything weird like that. You know, like you get a pig heart now, you know? If you just kept eating hamburger back in college consistanding and you needed
needed a new heart.
They could give you like a baboon heart or a pig heart. It's not even that. He would just sew it into your testes, just free balling in the ball. And the thought was, this will cure impotence. And then he
So-
ended up operating a pirate Mexican radio station, which was the most powerful on Earth. Because he just, again, you'll see. He's a colorful character.
I mean, I have so many questions about the testicle process itself, but I'm going to save those for the moment so that we can get a little preamble to this guy's life. Where does he come from? How does he get into the huckster business?
Right. So he grows up reasonably poor, I think in Tennessee or somewhere in the South. His dad is a medic from the Confederate Army. His parents die fairly young, and he is not very well-to-do. He marries a woman in 1907, and they immediately form a medicine show where they, drive around the area, and they, if anybody's unfamiliar with medicine shows were sort of like a combination of a pharmacy that mostly just sold booze and a fair or circus. Like medicine shows would have, singing act. They were like vaudeville, but ostensibly around selling medicine. So first thing they do, he's like maybe 20, 21, is they pretend to be Quaker doctors and then just go around the region selling bullshit medicine. Like probably I don't know what he was selling, but it was probably just liquor with like cinnamon in it or something like that.
As any good Quaker would, selling liquor.
Well, see, that's the thing. You can trust the Quakers. That's that's that tinge of like, oh, Quaker doctors. This seems like a weird thing to make up. Like if you're just saying you were a doctor. So he did that for a bit. He settled down again, and then he ended up moving to Knoxville, Tennessee, and he became the right-hand man for another flim-flam doctor that was selling virility tonics. And then he decided...
These are like virility tonics. These are like gorilla piss or...
something like that.
Yeah.
Again, my interpretation is if you're old-timey and you're drinking something a doctor gives you, it's either blood, laudanum, or just straight up booze, most likely.
Right.
This is before antibiotics have been invented, something like that. And he decides very early on, he is absolutely dead set on being a doctor. He really wants to be a doctor. He wants, I suppose, the money, but also he really wants the prestige of it.
Sure.
And so enrolls in the Bennett Medical College, which is an what do you call it? Unaffiliated, unlicensed. What word am I looking for here?
Bullshit?
Uncredited. It's a bullshit college. So he's enrolled in doctor school at the Bennett Medical College, which is unaccredited, and immediately runs into financial trouble. He has student loan debt. He has a wife now, his former pretending to be a Quaker doctor wife. They have a daughter. And so he begins feeling the stress of trying to become a doctor while having a family and working a job, I think at Western Union.
Okay. So, and is it like a daytime college? No, you said at night, right?
Yeah, it's a night school because he's working at Western Union during the day.
Okay, so during the day, he works at Western Union. He comes home, gets dinner with his wife and daughter, then goes to night school, probably based on this college, some random warehouse by the docks.
Presumably, yeah.
And I mean, that sounds like with all this stuff going on, financial trouble, wife, daughter, I assume that kind of affects his stress, right?
One would think, but weirdly enough, at this point in his life, from what I can tell, he actually does want to be a doctor. Like he isn't just claiming to be a doctor. He actually is going to classes. He's paying the tuition, which is substantial enough that he owes the money. And when he's, I think, 3 years in of a 4-year degree, he starts doing double shifts during the summer at Western Union so that he can pay for his wife, daughter, and schooling. And he comes home one day, and his wife and his daughter are gone. They have left him. She has filed for divorce. So Brinkley pays alimony for 2 months, then kidnaps his daughter and flees to Canada.
So what I'm seeing here is a man who started on the wrong path, tried to turn straight and go to a nice college, and then his wife absconds with their child. So he is like, nope, going back down the path of evil. He re-absconds with the child.
Right.
Goes to Canada.
Although we've had multiple characters who would have loved for this to happen, right? We've seen multiple
Right.
people in history that are like, they flee their family, right?
Right.
I'm a tad touched by the fact he loved his daughter enough to kidnap her.
Yeah,
Please don't put me on a list. Please don't tell the FBI I said that. I'm just saying, compared to a lot of the absentee fathers, he at least seems to have some human connection to his progeny.
Yeah, I mean, like William Lampert, who we recently talked about,
Right,
just
yeah.
ups and leaves.
Moves to a different
Spain.
country. Never comes back.
He goes to a different country just to get out of being a dad.
Yeah, exactly. This guy's willing to violate international law and risk extradition. And I guess that impresses his wife. Or no, actually, you know what happens is his wife tries to get him extradited and tries to get him arrested, but it's so complicated to do it while he's in Canada that she just gives up and they get back together. And they move to Chicago and reunite.
Wow. Okay. So and when they're together, what does he finish his degree, and what happens then?
He tries to. He keeps trying to get a proper degree. They have another daughter, and they're in Chicago, and he starts styling himself as an undergraduate doctor. So
Not a doctor.
He basically a pre-doctor. Like this would be like, yeah, you're saying I'm 3/4 of a doctor. I'm a half doc. And so they do that. In 1912, he leaves his family, although it doesn't seem to. I do not get the. I know, but I get the impression it's so he can really focus on his job because he wants to come back. I don't think he's like, I don't know. It's hard to tell. I gather he had a very tumultuous relationship with his wife. In any event, he leaves his family. He moves to Missouri, and he tries to get into another college. But he can't afford to pay off his tuition from Bennett Uncredited Medical College, so they won't forward his transcript. So he ends up just purchasing a degree from the Kansas City Eclectic Medical University, which is just a straight-up bullshit place. You just walk in, give them money, and they give you a diploma. I actually looked into doing this, young, because I thought it'd be fun if you and I could become doctors this episode. It is no longer in existence.
Honestly, when you walk into a place that has named itself Eclectic Medical University,
right?
That's kind of a giveaway that it's complete nonsense. Like, I'm just imagining walking into my own doctor's office, looking up at the wall, where they put their diplomas and everything, and seeing the word eclectic and be like, I'm not sure if I want this guy to touch me.
Have you ever talked to anybody super into holistic medicine?
Yes.
I had this experience recently at a dinner with a nice lady, and it was so hard for me not to go, you believe in the horoscopes of medicine, ma'am? Like it was so clearly just absolutely bonkers bullshit. So if anybody is unfamiliar with holistic medicine, and don't think holistic in the, I'm going to treat the whole body, like capital H medicine. Medicine becomes more potent the more diluted it is in their thinking. So if you want to make a medicine more intense, you dilute it with water. And the more diluted it is, the more potent it is in the face of all physics and medicine.
Yep.
And then when I asked her about this and was like, hey, it seems to me that half of the medical dosage would be about half as effective as the medical dosage. Like it usually works the other way around. And she's like, but the thing is, there are vibrations. And I was like, yes, there's vibrations.
The vibrations.
Yeah, vibrations. That's a good buzzword for magic.
Well, I don't know if you know this. The Beach Boys song "Good Vibrations" was about holistic medicine.
About holistic medicine, yeah. I didn't know that. Good to know. Okay, fine. Yeah. I'm into holistic medicine then.
Okay, so he has his eclectic degree, and I assume he moves back to live with his wife and 2 daughters at this point.
He does. They return to Chicago, where I think he's still styling himself an undergraduate doctor. I'm not entirely sure what he's doing, but he's trying to get a legitimate doctor's degree on top of the fake one, like the obviously fake one that he's got from the Kansas City Eclectic Medical University. They have a 3rd daughter, and she confronts him and is like, you have to quit this absurd attempt to become a doctor. It's been 12 years. No one thinks you're a doctor. You're not becoming a doctor. Why don't you just work this hard at being in Western Union? You could become middle management. And he goes, no, I was born to be a doctor, and I will die a doctor. And she leaves him. She leaves him because he refuses to quit attempting to be a doctor.
Okay, so he's by himself. His former fraudster partner / wife and I assume she's absconded with the 3 kids?
Yes, she takes the kids with her.
Okay, and he doesn't try to kidnap them back.
if he does, it's so unsuccessful it didn't even make the biography.
Okay. Okay, so now he's all alone. No entanglements of family. He can remake himself as he like. Where does he go? What does he do?
He goes to Greenville, South Carolina. He partners up with a guy that styles himself Dr. Burke, although that is not a real name. And they form the Greenville Electromedic Doctors Company.
What?
They're the Greenville Electromedic Doctors, and they start placing advertisements around town that they can give people, they can cure lack of manly vigor, and that's what they do.
Can I ask?
You go down to the electromedic doctor to cure your vigor.
What does that mean? Electromed? What? Why is that part of the name?
So
Greenville. Greenville, I get. It's in Greenville. Medic, right? I get, because it's medicine, though it feels a little redundant with the word doctors. What is electro?
Yeah, as opposed to what kind of doctor? What kind of doctor?
Right.
I'm an engineering doctor. Oh, yeah. Okay. You're a medical doctor. Yeah, so I looked into this is the tipping point where he just completely gives it to being a full-on quack. Like just high distillate, diesel-fueled quack from here on out for the rest of his life. He is utterly untethered to anything even attempting to help other human beings. I can't tell. He might think it has some benefits. I think he just doesn't even think about it. I think he views it as like he's just selling widgets for the rest of his life, and it doesn't matter if they work or not. So I looked into this. How? The electromedic doctors are so-called because they would purport to cure your lack of manly vigor for a $25 shot of Salvarsan. Now, $25 back then is about $700 today.
Jesus Christ.
So it's $700 for this shot. Remember, this is before health insurance and stuff. Everybody's paying out of pocket.
Right. You got no copays on this penis juice.
Yeah, exactly. And Salvarsan was a legitimate, or I don't know how legitimate it was. It was an actual medication back in the day. This is around 1921. And it was one of the earliest treatments for syphilis and some other conditions. But they weren't doing that. They would just tell people, we're giving you Salvarsan, which is a term back then, kind of like saying Cipromax or something like that. And then when the people were like, what is it? They would just tell...
it's your castor oil. It's the same kind of like... Which
right,
was maybe
except they would ask to tell them what it was. They would just make it up and say, it's electric medicine from Germany. You know electric medicine, Young? You know how when you go to the doctor and he goes, I need to prescribe you electric medicine because we live in the future.
Let me ask you this. Did they just think that people didn't, I mean, because it's what, 1910s? Yeah, 1920s. Yeah. Did they just assume that people didn't understand?
It's I think it's 1912. My bad, yeah.
Okay. Did they just assume that people didn't understand what electricity was?
I think that's I think literally it would be like today if a doctor went, we're going to give you quantum pills.
Right.
Like you and I would go, how big of an erection am I going to get from these quantum pills? But a lot of people would just go, quantum pills? I hear quantum all the time. That's a smart people word. I'm a smart people. Give me them quantum pills. Yeah, I mean, literally, it makes electric medicine from Germany makes no sense at all. Like, what the hell would that even be? Like, are you swallowing batteries? But they're not even giving them Salvarsan, which is a real thing. They're not even doing that. All they're doing is injecting colored water into patients. Like, they're just getting vials of water and putting in food dye and injecting it into their arm for $700. That's what they're doing to cure their erectile dysfunction.
So he's not one of these guys who believes anything that he's doing. He is full on making shit up and knows it.
He is a full-blown charlatan, mountebank quack. He is like you know my love for the fraudsters who believe it. You know, like the fraudster on a mission is a character I really enjoy. The guy who is self-aggrandizing and like definitely wants some good things for himself, but he really does have some kind of issue that he wants justice on and is really behind. This guy is not that. He is not that at all. He is, again, injecting shots of colored water into people's arms and then telling them it's electric medicine from Germany and charging them $700.
Okay, so how long does this last before someone's like, why do I have so much food coloring in me?
Yeah, it lasts exactly 2 months. And then they flee town. They don't pay rent, their utility bills. They owe debts for clothing and pharmaceutical supplies, and they've got unpaid checks that are hot to 40 different local merchants.
Wow. Yeah, so left a good impression in town and
Yep.
hightail. Did they hightail it by train where they're being chased by horses and they hop on the train just as it's leaving the track?
What would assume this involved banjo getaway music?
Right.
And two guys going, legs don't fail me now, and running and jumping onto a train. And yeah, so they moved to Memphis, and his partner, Dr. Burks, introduces Brinkley to, I think it's like a friend of family or something, 21-year-old girl named Minnie. And after 4 days of courtship,
Whoa.
Brinkley and her get married.
Whoa.
Even though, which pretty quick courtship, right, Young?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, he must have been really. Say what you will about this guy. He makes commitments and he sticks to them when it comes to ladies until they leave him.
Funny you should say that, Young, because he is still legally married to Sally at this time, so he is technically a bigamist. He doesn't actually bother getting divorced, so he has 2 wives.
I think that's even more committed if he didn't get divorced from Sally.
Right, exactly. You're right. Technically, this guy, he does believe in his commitments. If you buy that bullshit water juice from him, by God, he's going to inject it into your penis. That is, he's going to do it. He's going to make it work.
Okay, so he marries this lady and he's married to another lady. Then what?
He then moves with Dr. Burks to Knoxville, Tennessee, where he is
Back to Knoxville?
Back to Knoxville, but that's not.
Okay.
I don't believe that's where he was. That's not the first place they hit up. They were in Memphis.
No,
so
but but he was in Knoxville before, right?
He'd been in Knoxville before. I think he was born there or around there. Yeah. He moves back to Knoxville. He gets arrested because he's simultaneously practicing medicine without a license in the state of Tennessee, and he's writing bad checks. So they arrest him, and he immediately caves and turns in Dr. Burks to the cops, and is like, "Hey, listen, if you give me a light sentence, I'll give you all the dirt on my partner, Dr. Burks." So they arrest him and put him in the same jail cell.
Okay, so committed to women, not so much to business partners.
Not at all to business partners. Although I think they stick together for a bit. Like they meet in jail. Like, no harm. I would have sold you out too. I would have done it. No harm, no foul.
Okay.
And they get off. I don't remember. I guess they just get let out. They're not sentenced or anything. I think they do split up. He goes to Kansas City and enrolls in another uncredited university, I believe, and it makes enough money that he finally pays his tuition off to Bennett College, and I think is able to get he's able to get a quasi bullshit degree as opposed to the paper mill degree that the mill degree he got earlier.
Okay, so and what is his focus as a doctor? Like family practice or?
He is a doctor at a food processing plant, which I think you and I would call a veterinarian. But I wasn't able to find out if he was like the on-site doctor for the employees there or if he was actually working with the animals. But if this were a film about his life, I want you to imagine the following scene. He's a doctor at the food processing plant, right? And some of these guys lugging around the boxes of meat and stuff go, "Man, Bill, I'll tell you what, those goats, they sure are virile. They're definitely the healthiest animals here at the food processing plant. Why, Mitch, you're right. Those goats, they sure are, man, strong as a buck. Sure wish I was strong as a buck. Bill, I bet your wife feels the same way. Ha, ha, ha." Imagine now Dr. Brinkley putting his finger to his chin and going, "Huh."
Right, he has
virility.
a goatee and he's twirling it a little bit as he thinks about it.
Huh, goat virility.
So he just listened to hearsay at his job.
Yeah.
At his job, by the way, which...
From guys schlepping dead animal parts.
Yeah. If you work at a company that has an on-site doctor, especially if it's a plant or a warehouse, I think that's fair warning that the place you work at might not be a safe working environment.
That's a really good point. You're right. If they've got a guy on hand to worry about mangled fingers and things, that means that you're probably going to get some mangled fingers.
Right. Okay, so he listens to the men talk about the goats and decides to do what with this new information?
So he studies, I think he studied glands in his last year of college, but he kind of steps up, becomes a divorcee, properly divorces Sally.
Right.
Goes to he lies and says he doesn't know where she's living, and that he would like to divorce her, but he doesn't know where she is. And she's in New York. He knows where she is, but he's able to get a divorce. He properly marries many in a court. So he's no longer a bigamist. He's got one wife that he's married to. He's been an Army reservist doctor for a while. He signed up for that at some point when he was claiming to be a doctor. World War I happens. We're now in 1916, 1917. So he gets called up because he's a medical doctor. And he immediately has a nervous breakdown and stays on sick leave for 2 months before the Army discharges him.
So you're telling me this man that goes into situations, lies for long periods of time, convinces people to believe exactly what he's saying, and somehow gets away with it, has stress issues?
Young, it's funny you should mention that. I, too, was slightly skeptical of this claim. I truly think that this just charlatan of a man was called up in the draft because he was an Army reservist, which he'd probably been getting a paycheck for or a pension for or whatever. And then he's like, oh, an actual war? Oh, man. Oh, I've got the heebie-jeebies. You better send me to a military base and pay all my meals. Oh, no, look at me. And then after 2 months, they're like, just go home. Go home. Yeah, I think he probably faked it.
Yeah, he was like, oh, I can do 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year until a war happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I could totally be a reservist if I don't have to go to war. I mean, for the record, I feel the exact same way. American military, if you're listening to me, I'm happy to join as a reservist if you promise me I never have to go to war. But as long as that condition is met, I'd love to be an admiral or something in the reserves.
I think that's how it works, right?
Yeah.
You're immediately promoted to admiral.
How about this?
Or undergraduate admiral.
Ooh, I like that, undergraduate admiral. Or how about this? How about I'm a reserve admiral in the sense of, if you guys run out of admirals, I'll be an admiral. If all the admirals get knocked out, yeah, under that circumstance, I'll step up and run a battleship or whatnot. I'm happy to. I'll do my part for my country, but you got to run out all the other admirals first.
Yeah. I feel like there are probably so many desk admirals that they'd have to get through that might actually work.
I think at that point, if all the admirals are missing, I'm pretty sure it's just you and me in a canoe at the tail end of World War III, and we can call ourselves whatever we want. Yeah,
we've already lost. Okay, so he skips out on the war and makes his way back to America, I assume. How does he redefine himself as a post-war doctor?
He actually there's a brief period in his life where he is an actual doctor actually helping people. He moves in 1918 to Milford, Kansas. Shout out to all of our listeners in Milford, Kansas.
Kansas.
He becomes a doctor there during the Spanish flu pandemic.
Okay.
And is, by all accounts, very popular and very successful with his practice. He makes house calls. He pays people high wages that work at his place. He is just generally very useful to the locals and is a liked and appreciated medical fixture of the Milford, Kansas community.
He's just an old country doctor.
He's just an old country doctor and a veteran. Don't forget that. He's a veteran, too. He's a veteran, World War I.
Right. Okay, so, a successful doctor, successful practice, I assume, making decent enough money, not what doctors make today, I'm sure, but having a pretty good living for himself with just the one wife. And just no kids so far. So how does he get back into being a flim-flam?
According to him, while he is being a genial country doctor, a man contacts him for help with sexual weakness. And Brinkley affably...
I'm always calling people about that.
Yeah. I could, I'm sexually firm, but I could be firmer.
Right. We all could.
Do you have any erratic surgeries you could do on my testes before anesthetics or antibiotics? That seems like a really good idea, to cut open my ball sack and just put stuff in there. Yeah, that seems like a great idea. So Brinkley jokes with this guy, and he's like, young man, I bet you wish you had some goat butt glands in you. Your wife would sure appreciate that. And the man says, according to Brinkley, oh, please perform such a surgery on me. I will give you $150, which again is a lot of money. That's like I don't know, like a few $1,000s back then. And he goes, well, okay, son, I actually, luck should have it, I am a gland specialist. I got it back at the last bullshit.
Which she says instead of an endocrinologist, he probably just says gland specialist.
I'm an electric gland specialist. I know all the latest electric practices from Germany. Incidentally, this man, this is what goes down in his biography. Brinkley eventually commissioned somebody to do a biography on him because he's clearly thinks he's a great man.
Right.
This same individual comes forward later and is like, Brinkley just contacted me and he offered to pay me a prodigious sum of money if I would participate in this goat testicle experiment.
Wait. He just contacts a guy, one of his patients, or a guy out of the blue?
I think one of his patients. I think one of his patients, or his patient's in there for like, I have a tumor. And he's like, well, tell you what, I'd be willing to give you some money if you would let me put some goat testes in you. Now, I promise it will give you a firmer erection. So it's not like there's any downside.
Somehow it's funnier, though, if it is a cold call. Like, now I'm just imagining all the various telemarketer calls that I get. If someone just called me up and say, sir, would you be interested in potentially participating in an experiment where we just do surgery on you? I might actually answer that telemarketer call.
This is a call about an experimental surgery that we would like to pay you for. Are you interested? I'm interested. I don't think I'm going to do it, but I sure want to hear your sales pitch.
So do we know if the guy actually pays him?
We don't. I don't know. I would assume that I'm going to side with the anonymous dude who claims he was bribed to have goat testes put in him. He does actually come back later in our story. That they don't seem to have a problem with each other. There's no like the only dispute is who kicked this thing off, right? But he then goes about pamphleting all over Milford, Kansas, that he has a miracle treatment for sexual weakness and male vigor, which is inserting goat testes into your testicles. And as I said at the beginning of the program, he's not attaching veins or anything. It's not like you get a third testicle. Literally, they're just, at best, reabsorbed into your body via the testes.
So when you say he doesn't cut into the ball and add a ball in a ball.
Nope.
He's cutting
adding
into
a third or fourth ball into your ball sack. I'm sorry, gang. I'm really sorry to use such coarse language. I am not an electric doctor, and so I don't know the proper terms. I've never been to a doctor mill. So yes, he's cutting open your scrotum and he's adding goat balls, which have just been cut out of the goat. They're not being. He's not attaching anything. There's no chance that you're going to have goat testicles that are pumping away goat sperm in you or anything like that.
So at the end of, like, if you were to look at one of these people, aside from the horrendous scar on their sack, what you would see is what looks like, I don't know, I'm just saying, like the bag of kickballs that you used to bring in at the end of a middle school kickball game. Just like
that would be my interpretation. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Young. I don't know off the top of my head how big goat testicles are. I'm picturing basically double the size of a normal kidney bean. That's what I'm picturing in my mind. So I think, like, I don't want to like speak out of turn here, but for gentlemen of, massive sacks like you and I, they could totally take the extra goat testicles in terms of just sheer space. And assuming that you do not get an infection and die, because this is in 1918, 1919, assuming that major hurdle has happened, your body would just eventually reabsorb them.
Okay. So potentially you could survive, but have no real benefit to it.
Literally no benefit whatsoever could possibly. If you at home are like, I don't have good male vigor, or maybe I'm a woman and I would like to have male vigor. Maybe if I absorb goat testes, no, it is not. It will not help you. I am willing to claim medical expertise on this singular issue. There is no possible way inserting foreign goat parts into your testes or ovum, which will come up in a minute, could possibly cure you of any potential ailment.
Do you know why, Heaton? Because they didn't dilute the goat testicles in water.
That's right. Exactly. You need to make a puree and get the vibrations right. Yeah.
Okay, so how does he make the case after the first few goat operations to people that it does work? Is there any, usually there's a testimonial or there's some sort of people that come back and say, Well, I went to that doctor and I had him put some goat testicles in me, and I'll tell you what, I was able to be the full man I always wanted to be.
Yep. That basically. So we're now up to like 1930, and he gets sued 10 times between I think it's a dozen times between 1930 and 1940 for wrongful death because again he's just a full-on quack. And it so happens that the first guy that he did this experiment on, that dude's wife got pregnant, and so he makes a huge deal out of this. He gets them to name the kid Billy. Billy the goat gland baby is how this kid is named.
That's his first name.
Billy. The goat gland baby's a nickname.
Oh, gotcha.
But that is the name. He gets pictures taken with. I actually just emailed you if you want to look at that, Young. That is an advertisement that I sent you. Dr. John R. Brinkley and, quote, Billy. And then at the top it says, he's first goat gland baby. Also, I don't know why it says he's. There's literally a typo in it. So this is a 1920 newspaper item. This is from 1920. This is from the first guy. And literally it has, he made this advertisement, Young. And it says he's first goat gland baby instead of his. There's a typo in it. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's less than 10 words, and one of the words is wrong. So he starts putting these advertisements out for Billy the Miracle Goat Gland Baby as an example.
Maybe he had to pay by the word, so he was just like, we don't need the goat. We don't need the.
Well, also, but it should say his goat gland baby. He's a goat gland baby? Yeah, maybe
I think it's just he's goat gland baby.
Should say
he's a or he's the.
He's the first goat gland baby. Yeah. Okay. You know what? He's first goat gland baby. I could kind of say either way. A quack. That's the main thing I'm saying. Anyway, I thought the picture was funny. If you wanted to see that.
Yeah, I know. I see the picture. At first, I thought you were going to send me a picture of goat testicles. So I'm glad it's this.
No. I'll wait till I've had a couple of drinks later tonight before I start sending you goat testicle stuff. So this works very well. People are like, oh, a goat gland baby. It does work. Proof positive. That's all we need. That's the scientific method. And so what Brinkley does is he now expands what goat testicles are good for. He now claims that it is a miracle cure for all sorts of things. There's 27 different things he claims that this miracle procedure he's pioneered of putting goat glands into people can cure. 27 things. It ranges from emphysema to dementia to flatulence. Do you fart a lot, Young? Can you not remember names very well? You know what? You need some goat testicles.
I mean, I've seen, parodies of these old time medicine shows where they come in and do the whole thing where they're like, this can cure everything. It can cure gout. Yeah. It can cure hair loss. It can cure this and that. I'm just wondering, I get when you first started talking about this guy, I imagine him as a bit of a kind of Harold Hill type.
Yeah,
where he'd steam on its out. He'd be like, let me see if I can do it. He'd like, so you say you got a problem and your Johnson won't work. You try to wake it up, but it just won't perk. And you tickle and you tug and you rub it on a rug. But he's sad and he's flaccid and he sits like a slug. Well, step right up, 'cause I got a new solution. My operation is a revolution. See, I take a set of balls that I get from a goat and I make a little cut, then I sew them in your scrot. and your pecker pops up like an army salute, ready and willing to aim and shoot. It's a hold on. It's a new sensation, real but majestical, and all you need is an animal's testicle.
That was audience. I must tell you, that was completely unscripted. Young did that off the cuff, and I have to say, heroically. That was wonderful, and I loved. I knew you were going to say testicle, and I loved knowing you were going to say testicle. Yes, he is that kind of guy. Young, this is the Harold Hill of goat testicle procedures. You have nailed that.
Thank you. Man, I want a movie, or I want like a Simpsons episode like Monorail where they actually just do this guy.
There is in the works. I am in part of the research. I mean, I know that Hollywood's an elephant graveyard of movies that are never made, but there is a movie allegedly in the works about John R. Brinkley, where Robert Downey Jr. would be playing him.
Oh wow, that's a pretty good fit.
Yeah, so which I would definitely go see. It would be great. So yes, he's very much that amicable flim-flam guy claiming absolute, just utter nonsense for all of this.
I love it. Okay, so I have to assume that this is going to come back and bite him, or people are going to start to be like, what? I don't believe what's going on here.
Yeah, so yes, you're right. This is finally the point where he goes from being a small-time hot check writing quack that can just go from one town to another town to where he actually starts becoming kind of a nationally regarded dangerous quack. The American Medical Association hears about him, and even back then they were like, goat testicles. So they send an undercover, like a secret shopper. They send a secret shopper to his clinic in Milford, Kansas. And the first thing they notice is there's a woman hobbling around in the office that, this is kind of sad. Do you want to hear this?
Yeah, it's going to give us context to judge the man, so
yeah.
tell me.
So she's hobbling around because he cured her spinal cord tumor, or rather claimed to cure her spinal cord tumor by inserting goat testicles into her ovaries.
Oh, no.
Right.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh at that, but...
Well, it could be
Just
worse.
the
You know,
idea-
what if she'd given birth to a satyr? What if the
Right.
goat testicle had impregnated her goat ovum, or her human ovum, and she made a half baby, half human, but instead she just died.
Yeah,
which I
Rosemary's
guess would be
goat
preferable
baby.
to spotting a goat baby, I guess, and
I'm just
a
trying
new
to-
competing race.
I'm just trying to figure out, like, how, like, the argument is that you can insert goats into ovaries, and that has an effect on your spinal cord.
I gather that medicine was so shoddy and bad at the turn of the last century, up through 1950 or something, that literally no one knew anything, and doctors could just make up doctor-sounding stuff. Like if you just came in and went,
Yeah.
oh, phytoplasm, people would be like, all right, cut open a vein, and you could just do whatever you wanted. Like it actually kind of makes me I am more sympathetic to people that are like, don't believe doctors now. I'm like, oh, like I kind of like, there was a period where they were completely full of crap. Like our buddy George F. Will, he had a saying that, like, if you go back to 1900, if you took all the medicine in America and you dumped it in the Atlantic Ocean, it would be better for the people and worse for the fish. I think that's probably true.
Yeah. So, okay, so they send a secret shopper, undercover boss into the clinic, sees this person, and then I guess they get really suspicious that, man, this guy's got more people that are hurt than are helped.
In fact, he makes a nemesis at this point. It's kind of surprising he doesn't have a nemesis yet at this point in his life, but he finally makes a nemesis. His name's Morris Fishbein, and Morris Fishbein is
Good name.
a doctor. I think he's part of the AMA, and he basically decides, like, I'm going to make it my job to take out quacks, of which there are many. And he begins a campaign to try and get Dr. Brinkley, quote-unquote Dr. Brinkley, removed from all of this. So he starts doing that, but he's also, at the same time that he's invoking the ire from the American Medical Association, he's also becoming an extremely successful, wealthy doctor. He's great at PR. For example, I think this is funny, and it does illustrate how ridiculous medicine is at this time. In 1920, there's another legitimate doctor at the university, or excuse me, a hospital in Chicago. This legitimate doctor, who's not a quack like Brinkley, is experimenting with graphic monkey testicles onto human patients. But
Heaton, I happen to know that monkey testicles are not nearly as clean as goat testicles.
What I find funny about this too is it's like, there was probably somebody that's like, goat testicles, that would never work. Monkey testicles, though, that's pretty close. That's pretty damn close. The blood can't tell the difference. The blood could tell a goat from a human, but a monkey, put it on. And I think he would actually graft the testes onto the human, like the whole sack.
I mean, if it was connected, I have to say this guy might get a little more credit than Brinkley does. I mean, could you I don't know, have they ever transplanted primate organs into humans? Like other primate organs?
Yeah, because they've had baboon hearts that people have had, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and they're primates. So I know that there are some doctors that listen to our fine podcast.
Yep.
Doctors, feel free to reach out to Young and I, either one,
right,
and let us know how viable a monkey scrotum would be if attached to another human being. I'm guessing you could keep it alive, but it would be useless. I think you'd basically have a very weak thumb. That's my interpretation.
And I'll tell you what, if you give it to us and it works, we will name the child Bobo the Gorilla Gland Baby.
Also, if you mail Young or I a monkey testicle in a jar, we will put it on our mantle.
Right. That's true. Yeah, I will 100% commit to that.
Will you commit? I don't have a mantle. Will you commit to this? Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, I'll commit.
If you got a monkey testicle in a jar. Welcome to the living hell that is your life, Young. For the rest of your life, people are going to be like, he collects monkey testicles. Okay, get him one. We're coming over. Anyway, so what Brinkley does is he goes to this medical procedure where this is old timey, right? So medical procedures are done where there's the viewing gallery and the press and other doctors are looking down at the surgery. He rocks up to this monkey testicle transplant experiment. He does it uninvited. He's turned away at the door because the monkey testicle doctor thinks he's a quack. That's how much of a quack this guy is. But then
when he was going there, when you say he turned up to the experiment, was he going to get some testicles put in himself?
No. He wanted to turn up as if he is one of the medical experts that's participating in this and weighing in on it.
Gotcha.
And our colleague, Dr. Brinkley, is joining us from Milford, Kansas. He's an expert in gland transplantation and all that kind of thing. He's not let in. He's turned away. He immediately walks down to the local newspaper and tells them that he was just invited as an expert on gland transplantation to go to this famous experiment, and uses it. And within 6 months, the same hospital agrees to let him do his own goat testicle experiments, which he does in one surgery on 34 different patients, including a judge, an alderman, a society matron, and the chancellor of the now defunct Chicago Law School, while the press watched. I want to be clear on this. It's not that he did this 34 times. It's that he did 34 of these surgeries at one time. Walked around and had a jar of 34 goat testicles and put them on different people.
Oh, wow. Just out of curiosity, is the Chicago Law School now defunct because the chancellor had goat balls put in him?
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah, they would do trials and stuff, and they'd be like, well, now, the prosecuting attorney makes an excellent case and brought a good point. May I ask, the chancellor of your law school, does he have goat testicles in him like some kind of damn fool? And then they'd go, yeah. Oh, the jury quits. I declare it as the opposing defense attorney. Goat testicles.
By the way, regardless of whether it's in Chicago or wherever, all attorneys are from Alabama.
Yeah, that is my go-to lawyer voice is 80% Matlock, 20% Johnny Cochran. I like having just a touch of both in it. You can't quite nail it down.
Mine is 100% Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Young, I have even more to say about Dr. John Romulus Brinkley. There is so much more amazing stuff about this flim-flam quack that I think we actually need to pause this episode and do this as a two-parter and continue with his amazing career, which goes in very strange and different directions next time.
Are you telling me he has 2 additional testicles to provide?
He is. If this were a story, we're only one of 3 testicles through. I also find it funny, Young. We did an entire episode on Richard the Lionheart, which is going to be half as long as this episode on the goat testicles doctor.
Right. Well, more material to get into the weird of, I guess.
Yeah, good. So everybody, thank you for listening to this. We will be back again next time with part 2 of John R. Brinkley, the goat testicle transplant doctor.
Stay tuned.
Hello, I'm Richard Lemin, Andrew and Andrew's 6th grade history teacher. I accept no culpability for any of their errors, omissions, or outright historical malfeasance. Losers, Pretenders, and Scoundrels is hosted and produced by Mr. Andrew Heaton and Andrew Young. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review it. That will help other people find the program. Until next time, we bid you good history.